Good morning, Sheila.
Good morning. I had to go away and get the knots out of my stomach. I was breathing shallowly. I'm nervous. I told myself,
You're around your
what?
you're with your friends.
Yeah, I can calm down, huh? I guess I told myself earlier in the
Yeah,
week,
you can.
I said, this is my last talk, so it needs to be profound. And when I put that pressure on myself, I didn't get any, I didn't receive any inspiring messages. And so I had to really work to get back in the zone, not putting that kind of pressure on myself. Because then my creativity just goes out.
Right.
Yeah. But it's important to me. So I just was in having to meditate.
I think we all get that, have those things happen when we're facing something really important to us. So
Yeah.
you're fine. You're among friends and your unity family.
Okay. So I just can calm down here.
Everybody's cheering you on.
Yeah.
Hi, Bobby. I'm going to go ahead and go
Yeah.
live. We're going live, folks. Takes a couple seconds, couple steps, huh, Sheila?
Yeah. Yep.
Seems like it should be faster than this.
It is what it is, right?
That's true. That's true.
Speaking
Okay.
of, okay, let's get those juices flowing. Let's get the courage to change with zeal. Let's get in touch with that life force, that energy that courses through our veins, in us, in and through everything, maybe at different vibrations. But let's get into the miracle of who we are, our body, the heart that keeps beating, and we don't have to do a thing to make that keep going, the lungs that keep helping us breathe. We don't have to do a thing to keep that going. Just the fact that we are walking and talking and breathing and our hearts beating is to me such a fabulous miracle. It's just a grand mystery. And I just like to get us, let's get into that sense of the fire in our belly and look to transformation and change, the courage to face change and transformation with zeal, to imagine what it could look like, what our lives could be like, what we could be like. And you can call that, there is a divine discontent in us. The seeds are in us to always yearn for that which is higher and to look at the horizon of what's ahead for us, the motivation to have movement. Okay, yeah, I know. Enthusiasm. I mean, maybe that's a bit too much this early in the morning. And maybe there are times where it is just a bit too much. And, we think zeal, oh, that word, we think of zealots. Oh, my goodness. We don't like them very much, do we? And yet, let's talk more about that. And sometimes we just don't feel that energy, that juice, that zeal, that enthusiasm. Sometimes we just don't feel it. So, what goes astray? And how can we get that back? And why is that even important? So, zeal, it's that enthusiasm, it's important for expansion, forward, moving on. We need to have some flexibility. Some of us really do not like change, and we resist like the plague. And I've always been a person who, I like change. I thrive on change. I get bored if I don't have change. I'm the kind of, my personality is such that I'm always trying to get one more squeeze out of life. And that means not doing the same old thing I've been doing, but I want something new and different. Okay, we've done that for a while. Now let's move on. But everyone is not that way. But the zeal and the enthusiasm is what helps us to move forward in our lives, which we really do need to do. There's a passion, there's a luster to it. It adds color, it adds radiance to our lives. It's like the sparkle of a diamond gives it beauty. Zeal is our sparkle faculty. It's the inciter, it's the instigator, it's the spark plug. And it's the key to success because it attracts and excites people into creative action. So Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, was 94. And this was not long before he transitioned back home to the spirit world. And I know you've all heard this quote, but it's just such a great quote. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and I spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Wow. Zeal is the great universal force, the force that impels us to spring forward, to endeavor to accomplish seemingly miraculous things. It urges us onward, regardless of our intellectual mind of caution, confusion. It urges us onward. There's a passion, there's an ardor, there's a pursuit. It's the spiritual fire within us that moves us when we need to move, that helps us endure through the tough times. And the ancients said it was fire from heaven, or the divine inspiration, which would consume that which was worthless and purify the soul. Free, leaving it cleansed. I love this. I love this. I was laughing so hard when I ran across this. Leaving the soul cleansed of stupidity. You know any stupidity going on in this world? Oh, ready, cleansed, ready to express great ideas and talents. I'm talking about you. And you know people who have developed this power. We all have it in us, but we don't necessarily let it express itself, or we may hold it back, or we may use it unconsciously without realizing, and then it's not always effective for us and those around us. But when we can use it consciously for our benefit and the benefit of those around us, that's when it is just, well, you know people who have developed this power. And they seem to be aligned with the flow of the Great Spirit, as would be said by the Native Americans. And they seem to have special energy that differentiates them from the masses. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? People like that. They are vitally alive. On the other hand, you know people who just seem to have a lack of zeal or not developed zeal, and there's sort of a stagnation and inertia. Maybe kind of, you could call it a psychic death that's throughout them, throughout the universe, and sometimes throughout us. There are days, right? Or do you have days like that? It's like an engine without steam, an electric motor without a current, not plugged into electricity. Imagine times when you aren't plugged in to the energy of divine source. And what are those days like for you? You have those days, don't you? Those times. Romans 12, chapter 11 says, do not lag in zeal. Be ardent and fervent in spirit. And the last part of this quote says, and serve the Lord. I got to tell you, folks, I'm going to go off left center here. I got to take a moment for a teaching moment. What do we mean when we say the Lord in unity? what this quote to me means when it says serve the Lord. It means let that carnal human ego aspect of you take a back seat to that divine aspect of you. Allow divine spirit's wisdom to lead the way, not your ego intellectual wisdom, which is not really wisdom, but wisdom with a capital W, let's say then. Seek to be in harmony with that which is divine, with that one divine presence, that one divine power, that one divine God, your divine creator, your divine source. Seek to be in harmony with that. So serving the Lord means allowing the divine spirit's capital W wisdom to lead the way. Okay, so I went off left field, but I just couldn't help myself. I had to do that. Now, how do I get back to my talk? All my life, I've had quite a bit of zeal until I wear myself out. And then I have to take a day or two to rest. And I don't like that, but when I allow myself to do it, I come back renewed and refreshed. Any of you relating to that? All my life, I've felt the need to move forward. And I have. Amazing things I've done with my life. I don't always give myself credit. I'm the last one to give myself credit, but someone's been pointing out to me lately, look what you did. And looking back at my whole life, it's like I kept moving forward. And from my impoverished background, uneducated, poor people in the Appalachian, West Virginia, how did I do that? Somehow I knew. Somehow I expected good things were on their way to me. I didn't necessarily know what the future held at first, and I still don't. Even right now, I'm in a transition, and I don't know how my life is going to look in my future. I don't know how it's going to unfold. I don't know all the details, and I didn't all my life, and I don't now. And I'm okay with that. It's kind of intriguing, the mystery. But I always dreamed and still dream big. I maintained and still maintain a bold vision for my life. And eventually the stepping stones would come one by one, just glimpses, right? And then there'd be one at a time right there. Oh, that's what it's going to be. Oh, and this. Oh, and add that. And then I noticed that through my life, it's all leading to where I am now. I know you've experienced that for yourself. I listened. I took these steps and I created the life of my dreams. I carried a confident, optimistic expectation into my daily life. I didn't fret. Well, I didn't fret, not too much, about how my good would show up and when it would show up and whether it would show up in the way that I thought it ought to. I maintained the expectation of a life of my dreams, that it was already mine. And it was like, poof, there it was. And there it has been. One good experience after another. So I will have to say, though, that I've had a lot of false starts. And I was looking in last year's Lent book. We're in the middle of Lent right now. And I found a page about false starts. This is last year's fasting and feasting for 2020. I'm reading from page 50. Now, for Olympic runners, a false start by a fraction of a second can result in instant disqualification. So spiritually, the penalty for false starts is equally high. I'll talk in a minute about what a false start really is. Languishing projects, delayed actions, unmade decisions zap our energy and sideline the fulfillment of our true purpose. Whew, I don't want that to happen to me. And I don't think you do either, or you wouldn't be here. So, talking about Peter, disciple Peter, because he sinks when he starts to walk on water, some may regard his attempt to walk on water as a false start, but look closer. His story, as told in Matthew 14, provides a roadmap for fasting from the inertia inherent in every false start. Storm battered and terrified of the ghostly figure walking toward the disciples' boat on the sea, Peter calls out for guidance. Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. Guidance received, Peter takes bold, decisive action and gets out of the boat. Only then can he achieve the higher purpose. Peter started walking on the water and came toward Jesus. And in the very next verse, though, Peter feels the wind, succumbs to fear, and cries for help. And Jesus' support is immediate. And that's how it works for us too. Once our guidance is clear and our actions focused, the universe rushes to overcome false starts like ambivalence, confusion, and lethargy. What's highest and best can then arise from the stilled waters of pure potential. So actually on the next page, there's a little blurb about determination. Determination. Just a couple lines from that. On the path to spiritual mastery, determination may be less about sheer force of will. So that's not what we're talking about when we talk about zeal and brute strength. No, but more about openness, open and creativity. Staying curious about the possibilities for moving forward. More about that than about willful strength, willful and exertion. No. Spiritually, determination is knowing when to push through and when to trust the universe to do its part. Thought about my life. Think about yours and the times where you had that determination and the times when you didn't and the times when you had false starts like Peter did on the water. Confusion, doubt. Normally these days, time just disappears for me when I'm immersed in my work. Working on a talk or stuffing envelopes to send out to you guys. Every envelope I'm looking at the name, putting a label on it, putting the book in, and I'm seeing your face. Oh. And thinking about all the sweet things about you. And I don't know if you feel that energy in that envelope when you receive it, but just want you to know what goes into it. Sorry. But normally when I'm doing those things and I'm immersed in my work, I'm on a roll. I'm focused. I'm in the zone. And my soul sparkles. And I tap into my zeal. My soul sings. Not always, though. Not always. The other day, the weather felt oppressive. I don't like the wind, and I felt tired. And so while I was not aiming for the bouncy, pouncy energy of Tigger, you know Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, I did need a little something more. I needed a boost. I needed to get back some energy. And sometimes I just have to try to force myself to be quiet and rest. Um, and I'm sure you have days like that too. So, what can we do when the challenges of zeal, about the challenges of zeal expressing through our humanity? What can we do when those challenging days come about? And what can happen to our zeal between the ages of 4 and 94? What happens? Many of you have heard my story. I came from a long line of preachers, teachers, and musicians. And I, when I was little, I questioned their beliefs. And some of it just didn't seem quite right for me. And somehow there was a sparkle, a yearning, a juice in me that left me wanting more, to know more, to understand better. I still have that. Sometimes I think, well, what about that? That doesn't, I need to understand. There's so much that we don't know. You can call that divine unrest, that yearning to want more. I have had that divine unrest in me, and it spurred me forward. And I wanted to be better. I wanted to become better, a better human being, a better person. And for a long time, I ran from all religions. And then after a while of doing that, years of doing that, I sought out, I researched and experienced most other religions. And lo and behold, in the mid 80s, a friend introduced me to Unity. And she says, you really ought to try it. And so I went, well, okay. So in Sacramento, Christ Unity of Sacramento, I went and was introduced to Reverends Phil and Dorothy Pearson. They had a church before that in Diamond Head, Hawaii, where they had a TV show called The Best Is Yet to Be. Anyway, I was sold. I was home, and I went, this is right for me. So then in 2010, I awoke in the middle of the night from a deep sleep, and I sat up in bed, and there it was, the message. Unity Minister. No way, Jose. You got the wrong person. There wasn't a sound, there wasn't a picture, there weren't words. It was just there. I can't even describe it. It was very specific though. Unity Minister. No way. Who am I to speak the word of God? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Even though I'd been in front of classrooms, lecture halls, teaching and counseling at Delta College for 30 years, but this was different. I had my heels dug in. Something in me kept saying, okay, all right, just do the first step. All right. So go back to Unity. Because I hadn't, after I left Sacramento to move to Stockton to start teaching, I had tried Unity of Stockton and I had not had a pleasant experience, and I didn't go back. So I said, go to Unity of Stockton again. And they had a new minister and she was pretty cool. And so I went, well, okay. And I started going. And then they asked me to be a prayer chaplain. And I went, what? Pray with out loud with other people? I don't know how to pray. And but I did it. Then they asked me to be on the board, then secretary of the board, then board president. And then Mary Lee Revels, the minister at the time, called me from the hospital and said, Sheila, I'm in the hospital with cancer and you got to take over. You're board president. And I went, what? I don't know what to do. But I had to calm myself and realize, okay, Sunday's coming. What would you think needs to get done? So I just started, and I relied on ministers from the region. I would call people. I relied on Reverend Irene Whitmore, who was a congregant with us at the time. And I started taking one online prerequisite course for seminary at a time. I took one and I got through that with flying colors quickly. Then another. Then I went back to Unity Village to do 2 weeks intensive, because by then I'm going, I've got no time to lose. And while doing all this, I was still working at the college. And at the time, I was at the same time leading your Stockton Unity community. Your. I'm so grateful for the time that I had with you. I had training wheels on and you were with me all that time. And we've loved together, we've hugged together, we've cried together, we've laughed together, we've learned together, we've grown together, and so much more together. Talk about change, talk about transformation in me, in you, in us, in our community. We've come a long way, baby. Pat yourself on the back. Such a beautiful journey. It was fraught with difficulties and challenges, of course, but we learned from all those challenges. I did. How about you? And now, looking forward to a new horizon. Me ahead of me, you, each of you in your personal lives, all of you, your unity community. Let's get those juices flowing. That life energy that flows through, that gives the spark that will move you forward, the courage to imagine what it will be like and expect only good. Expect it to happen. Know that it is already yours. Let's get past the fear and the doubts and the confusion and the false starts. The transformation that you are all taking part in, our community, my personal transformation, each of you in your personal transformations in your life. Get the juices flowing. Wake up. After meditating and praying, get up. Take a step. Anything, a small step, and then one more toward whatever it is you want your life to be, toward a better life, a better you, a higher way of being. Clearly, from this view, though, zeal is a highly desirable quality. So where can zeal go wrong? The zealot, ooh, negative connotation in our culture, fanatical, uncompromising in pursuit of religious or political or other ideals, with strong opinions and tries to make others believe the same way. Ooh, know anybody like that? Not you, of course. Oh, zealous about human rights, passionate about creating a level playing field, justice. Jesus was fierce, uncompromising about his truth with a capital T, with a big T. Yet he was compassionate with others who could not hear or understand the truth he taught and demonstrated. Compassionate with those who faltered with their own faith. Compassionate with those who were struggling and trying to change, but having false starts. And he acknowledged that not everyone is ready to accept the teachings right now. They aren't ready. So we can all, each of us, be vigilant about how our zeal is expressing through, is it expressing through our personal consciousness, our ego consciousness, or through our divine aspect consciousness? We can keep our truth tempered with compassion. We can allow others' beliefs and opinions that are different from ours, and we can allow them to have those without judging them. Oh boy, is that a challenge for me. And I'm sure it is for you too, many of you. Although some would say, no problem. But with the way things have been going over the last few years, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. So zeal can be used in helpful ways, and it also can be used in harmful ways. It can be used consciously, conscious intention to use it in a helpful way, or too often we use it unconsciously, and it just rears its ugly head and comes out in ways that are not effective for us and those around us. But if we use zeal in a way that it's grounded in life-giving possibilities, not life-depleting obstacles, when we guide our zeal with life-giving possibilities, when our zeal harmonizes and inspires and motivates into loving action, that's the goal. But when we guide our zeal with life-depleting thoughts, it divides and frustrates relationships. Negative ways to use zeal, misuse of zeal leads to weakness and shyness and sometimes overzealousness. So it can be underdeveloped or overdeveloped. Either one of those can be problematic. Overzealous, impulsiveness, ruthlessness, compulsiveness, overly ambitious. We can temper our zeal with divine wisdom. Divine wisdom. Otherwise, it may become so active intellectually that we drain our vitality, leaving nothing for our physical well-being. So spiritual growth must come first. When we first encounter spiritual ideas, sometimes we get carried away and we want to transform the world with our friends and our family. Have any of you taken a Psych 1 class? We come out of Psych 1 class, and we think, oh, I can analyze all my friends and help them and make their lives better. Well, same with when we encounter spiritual ideas that get us all zealous, and then we want to transform the world. And we need to learn to direct our energy toward transforming ourselves first. Spiritual work must come first. We must bring our own spiritual nature out first. And it doesn't have to be, it is not a loud, boisterous thing, but it's a quiet, steady, persistent power, our zeal. And the greatest influence that we can have on others is they'll be a result of the changes that we make within ourselves. We won't have to say a word. Ralph Waldo Emerson, who's in the movement that started New Thought years and years ago, Transcendentalism. He said, who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. And the great 20th century theologian and philosopher Howard Thurman said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Wow. This zeal, this enthusiasm will spread to others, and it will result in selfless service to others. Jesus advocated this in his teachings. So how do we keep zeal as our sparkle faculty? Charles Fillmore says, you are not to repress it. You are not to repress your zeal, but you are to guide it, the spirit of enthusiasm, which when in cooperation with divine wisdom. And that is what will bring you happiness and satisfaction. Not to repress zeal. Yet, what are some of our earliest lessons? Settle down, be quiet, stop running. Don't do that. One of the first challenges we encounter is when we're children. Our innate zeal doesn't have a fully developed divine wisdom faculty to guide it. And most of us are parented by folks that have unreasonable expectations for children. They don't have education and developmental stages, and many are limited in their skill in guiding children. And we can say they did the best they could, and they did, but many of us were taught to repress our zeal. And repressing our enthusiasm is not helpful when it turns out we need that zeal later. So, how many of you spoke your truth as adolescents and young adults and found that family and friends were critical and not understanding? Even now, could have been a truth about who you are, could have been a truth about a vocation that you were passionate about, could have been about your beliefs at the time that was outside their comfort zone. Again, we were faced with criticism and isolation and abandonment. And so, what do? We abandon our own truth. How sad is that? Discouraged. I was discouraged around every bend, or not encouraged. I never found that teacher that encouraged me. So my early career choice was about practical economic. I had to get to work to put my husband through engineering college. So it was secretarial, just to bring in some money. Wasn't what I really dreamed of. I was never encouraged to dream. How about you? Did you settle for an early career choice that was not the dream of a lifetime? Thank goodness I went back and revisited that later. Yet I never let go of that dream that there was more for me. And it was in my 30s, when I was about 33, that I felt this in me. You like my sound effects? I had a yearning. And I left everything behind and went back to college. And I kept on. Oh, I had my share of false starts, let me tell you. And the lesson might be that we need to thoroughly study our own heart to see if zeal springs from our spiritual consciousness or from our personal ego, intellectual consciousness. Which one would be best? You know the answer to that question. We need divine wisdom and understanding to temper the zeal, to lift us out of the ego consciousness. Tigger, back to Tigger. He's really the perfect demonstration of zeal rooted in personal ego consciousness. What is the most wonderful thing about Tigger? He's the only one. Zeal cloaked in human pride, in seeking the prize of attention and awards and rewards. Know anybody like that? I'm wondering, I'm going to go out on a limb here and just wonder and speculate if perhaps some of you, through all that's been going on, have become listless, gave up hope that you could do anything, that things could get better. Maybe you became inactive. Maybe you decided, what can I do? Wait for someone else to take action, let them do it. Wait for some outer inspiration, prone to wait for some outer power to stir it into action. And I'm wondering if perhaps you may have become apathetic about all that. And sometimes I wonder if some of you at times have become apathetic about our spiritual community. Oh boy, there I said it. Attitude, I'm here to receive, not to give. I don't have anything to give. Let's get beneath such listless inactivity. Let's stir up that gift of divine courage within, and we'll find new inspiration and new ideas and new life energy waiting to be born in each of us and in our unity community, in our lives. So let's take that into a short meditation. So just take a minute here to just relax. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or you may lower your gaze. Breathe into your heart space. Feel your body relax with each breath. In this stillness, we relax until the chatter in our mind begins to fade, so we can receive the spiritual guidance that is always available to us, but often drowned out by the roar of our thoughts. Allow the tension to melt away. Allow the worries to drift away. Each breath opens your heart and clears your mind. Center your attention on Divine Spirit. Open to receive. Let go and open to receive. Relax. Breathe. Let go and open to receive. Let each affirmation resonate within you, hearing the words, I am one with the ever unfolding, ever increasing spirit of infinite courage, enthusiasm, and zeal. God is always with me as indwelling infinite wisdom and spiritual guidance, spiritual judgment. I am zealous to know and to do God's perfect will. Through spiritual enthusiasm, I work to bring that perfect kingdom inside me into manifestation inside. The vitalizing, free-flowing zeal of spirit is working in me, transforming me into newness of life. The Christ in me now stirs my consciousness of divine zeal. I enthusiastically express my inner spiritual urge to serve God, humanity, myself, my loved ones, this unity community. And with an attitude of gratitude, we say, and so it is. Amen. Zest, zeal, spiritual renewal, reawakening. Wake up to that jolt, that sip of Java that some of us love so much in the morning. But the other Java, that other jolt, that other sip of Java, spiritual renewal, the jump start. Open those baby blues or those baby browns to a burst of energy and strength and stamina to see it through. The divine in me sees the divine in you. And now is the time when we go into our spiritual cafe. And today